Hi guys, this is Mrs. Oatley here. Today we're doing 8-2 dot plots and histograms. This video is going to be a little bit shorter than the last video, mainly because it's my third time recording it because I keep making mistakes. And so my paper is already filled in, so you can just kind of pause and take a minute and fill yours in. So we're going to start with this set of numbers here, and you're probably like, wait a minute, I can't even see those numbers. But they are 5, 4, 1, 6, 0, 5, 3, 3, 5, 6, 1, 3, 5, 5, and 4. Okay? There are my numbers. Okay? Now, this is our data set that we're going to use. It says the data below shows the number of hours a group of students spent doing homework last week. So we have those numbers that you have right there, and we're going to use them to go ahead and plot them on our dot plot. It says draw a dot plot to represent the data and title your display. Okay, so here's my dot plot. I'm going to go ahead and number the hours at the bottom 0 to 8, and I want you to take a minute. You can pause the video, and I want you to graph each of these points of data here onto the dot plot. So go ahead and pause the video, and when you're done, you can unpause and we'll move on. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're moved on right now and you have those all plotted on your dot plot. Okay, now the title we want to give it is Hours of Homework Spent Last Week. Okay, you might have noticed the lines through here because I usually cross them out 5 as I go. Okay, I just had already done it before. So question 1 says, how many students does your dot plot represent? How do you know? Well, it represents 15 because I have 15 collections in my data, and I also have 15 dots on my dot plot. So 15 students because I have 15 here and 15 here. And we talked yesterday about having the same number. You should have the same number in your data as you do represented on your dot plot. And if you don't have that same number, if you have a discrepancy in numbers, then you know that you've probably made a mistake, okay? Why are there no dots at spot 2 and at spot 7? Well, here's 2 and I've got nothing, and 7, I have nothing. Well, that's just mainly because I have no data on my dot plot that can suggest that students spent 2 hours or 7 hours on their homework. So the answer is because I have no data. Why do you think 5 hours is the most frequent number of hours spent doing homework? Well, looking at our data, here are numbers. We had 5 hours was really popular, okay? So why do you think 5 hours is the most frequent number of hours spent? I don't really know. I mean, my kids don't have 5 hours of homework a night, but in this case here, 5 is the most popular number. There are more 5s in our set of data. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 students who spent 5 hours on homework. Okay, so 5 was the most frequent or the most popular with the more sets of data. This data represents 15 students. Would the range of the data change if more students were included? I don't really know that the range would change. The range, I'm going to bring this back up here. The range is the lowest to the highest point on your graph. I don't know that if we surveyed more students, there would be people doing 7 or 8 or 9 hours of homework, okay? So I don't think the range would change as far as in this area here because we really have only a range of 0 to 6. But I would definitely say the range wouldn't change, but the data would definitely change because even if we were to survey 5 more students for a total of 20, our dot plot would look completely different. And question 5 says, suppose this data represents 6th grade students. Would the data change if it represented 12th grade students? And I would probably say most definitely especially with us being in 6th grade. We're still in elementary school. You guys only have one teacher. You don't have all these classes that you're going to with hours and hours of homework. I would expect those of you who have middle school siblings, they're probably having multiple hours of homework per class. So yeah, I would say that the data would change if it represented a higher age group with more curricular involvement and classes. Okay, so go ahead and turn the page to the back, and we're going to talk about histograms. Okay, make sure I have my paper centered. I tried to mark it on my paper here. Okay, oh, here we go. Make sure I have the right paper. Of course, you're going to notice mine's all done because I made a mistake on it, right? So we're going to talk about histograms. And histograms are graphs, they're bar graphs, okay? And they have large sets of data. So go ahead and write that in, okay? A few things about histograms. They are used to show the spread of data, so you can see it laid out in front of you. You can see that the data is grouped in intervals, okay, which is a range of numbers. So that means each bar that you're going to see has an interval at the bottom to show you the different numbers. Now the intervals are usually the same. If it's 7 numbers, then they're all going to be 7 numbers. And the bars, they touch. So all the data in the set is included. Now I realize that you're looking at that and you're like, what? But I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay? So here is my histogram. Put that right under. Okay? Again, it is a spread of data. It shows people from 14 years and under all the way up to 75 years and above. Okay? It shows intervals. We've got 15 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, 65 to 74, and 75 and above. You don't need to worry about writing this out right now. I'll give you a minute to get that done. Okay? Now these intervals are the same. I believe these are all 9 numbers in between. So they all have to be the same. And then you're going to notice the bars on here, these bar graphs, they touch. Okay? Now I'm going to give you a minute. You can pause the video in just a second. Go ahead and copy my graph down. I know that it's hard to see, like, what is that? But I have put the numbers on the top, 39, 40, 45, 37, 25, 15, and 13, so that you can make it look as the example is. Okay, and also I like to write the numbers at the top because then it's easier for me to answer the questions. So I'm going to put my little pause video sign in here. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and when you're done, give it a play. Okay, so we are then going to use our histogram here, and we are going to answer these questions. Which age group has the least number of people? Well, I can answer this in 2 ways. I can definitely look at the histogram and notice, oh, this is the smallest of the bars, okay? But I also, since I put the numbers on the top, I can tell that 13 is the least amount. So the answer would be the age group of 75 and above. Number 2, which age groups have nearly the same number of people? Why don't you look at your histogram and see which bars are nearly the same. It doesn't say the same, it says nearly. Okay? Well, if you notice that 39 and 40 and 37, I would say 15 to 24 and 25 to 34 are nearly the same. They're only 1 off. Okay? Question 3, which age group has about 15 million people? Oh, what do you guys think? You're right. It's 65 to 74. Question 4, about how many people are 14 years and below or 75 years and above? Well, you can look at the 14 and below, and you know that that is 60 million people. And you can look at 75 and above and know that that's 13 million people. So 60 million from here plus the 13 million from here gives you a total of 73 million people. And number 5, in which interval would a person be if they were 34 and a half years old? Well, would they be in 25 to 34 or 35 to 44? What's your guess? You're right. They would be 25 to 34 because they have not had their birthday. They are not 35. You can't say that you're 16 unless you turn 16, right? So same concept here, 34 and a half, still the same 34. So they would still be in the age of 25 to 34. And the very last question is, how would the graph look different if each interval was fixed at 10 years? So I'm going to pull my graph back down, but if we were to have had a 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 40 to 50, etc., 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 95 to 100, I would say that the numbers would still be pretty similar, but I would just say that maybe it would be more spread out and it would include more older ages. It would be the same shape of graph going this direction. It looks like we're peaking here and then going down. I would still assume to see the peak, okay, and then going downward. I would just say that it would be a graph that is more spread out. Okay, so I know that video was a little faster. Please feel free to rewind it, play it again, pause it. The videos are kind of hard, especially when you don't have kids to be like, Mrs. Oatley, you just wrote down the wrong answer, because I really look forward to that. And now when I do the videos, I have to be like, oh, crud, I just wrote down the wrong answers on my graphs, okay? So notice on my graph here, one thing I didn't mention was I put 0 here because this was kind of already segmented at the bottom on your notes, but I'm sure you figured that out. So tune in tomorrow and you can see 8-3. Okay, bye-bye.